Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only XCN coin. Now, it's been a couple of days since I talked about this beautiful, beautiful coin, but we are back. And of course, if you guys want, I will be mentioning it often. I go based off of the views, likes, and comments to see, what generally people want, right? It just makes the most amount of sense. But I have seen a good amount of support on Exian, so you know what? We are going to be covering this coin more and more consistently. Look, we've been talking about this coin for a while now, at least a month, even probably up to 2 months. And man, oh man, what a journey it has been. Definitely probably around the end of May, even we were already talking about it. XCN, it was in this downwards trend, right? It was in this downwards trend, but you can see that it was always kind of creating this unique trend line, right? It was kind of creating this unique trend line. And then we had a break, right? We had a break at the end of June, and we kind of just, even though we were kind of selling off and going sideways, we are kind of respecting this trend line. And you can clearly see that we were above this structure, right? If we take this structure over here, this rectangle, it's not perfect, right? It's not perfect, but these tools are a little funky sometimes. And then we take this structure over here, you can clearly see the structure in general is above this one, right? And then you can see, boom, we had another leg to the upside. So very, very good, right? And this is also on the daily. So this has a lot of validation. As of right now, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we are at a very, very nice and crucial zone. We can see that, boom, here we go. This is going to be the main zone for us, okay? Why is this the main zone? Well, this is the biggest support and resistance we have in the last, X amount of days, really, right? Practically since the middle of April, that was, where it all started to form this big support and resistance. I do expect this coin to go down a little bit, which is not a problem, right? It is not a problem. When we go on the weekly, we can see that last week we pushed through, right? Last week we pushed through. We were already calling the reversals before because, of course, we went on top of the structure, but because we also did have this low over here, right? This weekly candle low here, and then we created a higher low. So it was expected for us to have some type of pump to the upside, and that's exactly what happened, right? We can see that last week we tried pushing, but we actually had a pretty big rejection. The rejection is bigger than the body candle, which makes me think that this coin needs a little bit of a reset. But that's not a bad thing, okay? That is not a bad thing. So overall with this coin, I do expect a little bit of a pullback, possibly down to the support once again, consolidate for a little bit before we make another attempt. And I believe the next time we will make an attempt, it's going to look very, very good, right? So even if we go down, whatever, 10%, what is 10% in crypto? That can happen in a single day, right? There's a high chance we go off of this daily order block right into this huge support. Maybe stay here for a few days before we make another attempt to the upside. Overall, I'm very, very bullish on this coin, right? We can also see that we are creating a reverse head and shoulders, right? If I cut some of the noise out like this, just remove the drawings, right? We can see that we have clearly a head over here, right? Clearly a head over here. We have a nice big shoulder here, and then we are yet to kind of form the second shoulder, which is why I believe, we more or less will get some kind of reverse head and shoulders, while we get it also pullback, right? Just multiple confirmations, high probability of bigger pullbacks. Okay, that is what I see. Overall, we are bullish, right? Not only because of our structure, but because of how the markets have been going crazy. We can see, even though Bitcoin has peaked a little bit higher at roughly 123,500, we are at 117,000 more or less, right? So we are pretty much near all-time highs. Okay, we are pretty much near all-time highs, and we can see something like Bitcoin dominance has been getting railed. Okay, Bitcoin dominance has been getting railed, and it's a sign, it's a potential sign of the beginning of altcoin season. And I say potential because, ladies and gentlemen, the very important thing is this zone right here. Are we going to respect this zone and have one more final rally for Bitcoin dominance going upwards of 70% before we have the official big crash, right? Or is this going to be it? And we kind of just overall, even if we go sideways or a little bit up, are we going to go lower? Once we officially go lower from the zone, then altcoin season is officially confirmed, right? There's so much confirmation at that point that it is confirmed. But for me, this is the biggest zone. People were calling for altcoin season back over here, right? And we said we believed it was just simply a bigger pullback on a higher time frame. So we didn't think, anything of it. I will say this is the biggest weekly sell-off candle we've had in a very, very long time. So that is something to look out for, right? That is something to look out for. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, overall, either way, I expect crypto to be doing well. I expect our beloved Exian to be doing well. And I overall think this coin, is going to be one of the top coins. I don't think it's going to enter the top 10, but if we go and look at coin market cap and we look at some other coins, right? For me, as of right now, we're probably where are we right now? Just to be 110. Yeah, we're probably gonna be pushing for that top 30 to 50 spot very, very easily. Now I might think, oh, only that far. Well, guys, there's a lot of competition. Remember, these coins are also going to be pumping, right? Top 10 would be really, really hard. We have a lot of good coins here. HBAR, Link, Sui, XLM, we have Polkadot, right? Pepe, yeah, sure, it's a meme coin, but it's still so. But look, the competition gets much, much weaker once we start going to this area. Yeah, there's still some key ones like Caspa can do good, ICP, Trump, obviously, and etc. But I do think we will end up in the top 30 to 50. And I do think we are going to be looking at a very, very nice market cap this cycle. For me, this is one of those coins where I still think we should be hitting at least around like 15x from the current price. And I do think we are going to do very, very well, right? When we were down here, we thought, that we are going to be getting roughly a 20x. And we can see that 42% difference does, make a difference in the multipliers. It does make a difference in how much you make, which is why it's always important to be paying attention to crypto markets when they're low or just going sideways. Okay. Look, even if Exian is going to be boring just a little bit, right, I overall expect a nice rally to this upside once we do retest off of this zone. Okay. So I expect to get to practically 2.7 cents. I expect to take that out, and that's when we're going to probably slow down, right? Go something like this, boom, 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 go like this, and then again have a little bit of a correction phase before we go again. That is like what I ultimately think is going to be happening. Okay. And I do expect this coin to pump very, very well. We saw what happened all the way back in the middle of January, right? This thing went from this price over here, and within a couple of days, it shot up to almost 5 cents. This thing had an insane rally in just a few days, right? In just about a week and a half, this thing went up like 19 times, right? 19 times. So that's crazy, right? That is crazy, and that is what we love to see, and that is going to be the power of Exian. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.